Hello. Hello. Oh, I'm so pleased to be able to be here and do this with you this morning. I'm going to just chat for a few minutes while I wait for people to turn up and join us. I've no idea how many people are going to be here. If you've never done this before, there is a comments box underneath the screen and you can add in your comments or questions in that box. I'm doing this on my phone and that comments box tends to move very quickly. I've watched other people's lives before. So if you have got a question that you want to ask, I suggest that you do that at the very end of the session today, when I will be able to have more time to read what's going on. But I can also go in afterwards and answer any questions you've got. Hello Ratna and Trudy, really nice to see you both here. Thanks ever so much for joining this today. The reason I've done it at lunchtime is because I figured, Sandra, hi, really lovely to see you as well. The reason I've done it at lunchtime is I figured that most people take a lunch break of some kind. I'm aiming to do this just for around 20 minutes every Monday morning, followed up by a catch-up session on Friday. We'll see how that goes. If that's not particularly useful, I might stop that one, but we'll see. So, yeah, so it's lovely to see more of you hopping on. Fantastic. Trudy, I can see you. It's lovely. Lovely that you've been able to join us. Well done. Well done. So, lunchtimes, everybody takes a lunchtime break, and I thought it would be a perfect timing, really, for people to be here. So, we've got a few people on with us now. So I'm going to start by explaining why I've chosen to do these Facebook Lives. I wanted to do something that felt useful and something that would help people to look forward to the future with a sense of confidence and a sense of realistic optimism about the future. That's not to ignore or belittle or dismiss what's going on now, but I'm not going to be making that part the major focus of these sessions. I wanted to be helpful because when all this is over and done with, we've all got lives, businesses, careers. Don't worry, Trudy, nobody can see you, my love. It's only me. When all this is over, we've got lives, businesses, careers, jobs to be going and getting on with. And we need to feel resourceful and resilient enough to be able to do that. So this is the reason that I'm doing this with you. So I'm not ignoring what's going on at the moment, but I'm choosing a slightly different focus. My focus is that I'm seeing this as a gift of time, basically, over the next few months, and I hope that sharing these strategies from the book with you will help you to perhaps shift your focus a little bit too. So I wrote the book about 7 years ago. Some of you may have a copy, some of you may not. It doesn't matter if you've got a copy or not. I'm going to share with you what I think are some of the important and useful points from the book over these sessions. As I said at the beginning, if you want to make a comment or you want to pop a question, there is a comments box at the bottom underneath the live bit that you can see now. Pop it in there. That does tend to move quite quickly, so if you got a comment or something you want to say, perhaps pop it in towards the end where I might have time to sort of read it. I'm not expecting hundreds of you on this though, so it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I wrote this book 7 years ago. For those of you who don't know much about me, I now live in Lincoln. I'm a trainer, writer and coach, but my background is in teaching. And in 2002, I moved overseas with my then 9-year-old son to Borneo in Southeast Asia, a small country called Brunei, and I spent 5 years living there, 3 years in Central America, and I moved back to the UK in the summer of 2010, where I retrained, started up my own business, and a few years after we moved back, ended up writing this book, which contains lots of stories, anecdotes, hopefully helpful bits of advice for my time while I was overseas and then the time after I moved back. So it says there are 21 strategies. I'm desperately hoping that we don't have to get to a stage where I end up showing all 21. Let's hope things get back to a semblance of normality before then. So I was going to start at the beginning, but I decided last night that I was actually going to start at the very end with strategy 21, which is called Choose Your Focus. Gabriella, how lovely to see you. Really nice. Gabriella and I have connected for some time now over on Twitter, so it's actually really nice to see you on this platform. Hello, and thank you very much for watching. So, strategy 21, which is actually the last strategy in the book, and it's called Choose Your Focus. And I thought that might be a very fitting place to start with all of these. As I said a minute ago, my own focus on these sessions and the months we've got coming up in front of us is choosing to see it as a gift of time. There's lots and lots of noise out there about what's going on, and I think if we choose to focus into that too much, it can have quite a negative effect on us. So I'm going to be doing my fair share of sitting on the sofa, watching TV and Netflix, eating chocolate and cheese and drinking wine, but I'm actually also going to be using this time positively and productively. I think we owe it to ourselves, our families, and we also owe it to everybody who's out there, like some of the people, Trudy, she's a nurse, my husband, Nick, who's a postie, some of the people out there actually helping to look after us. We need to be as buoyant and as resourceful as possible. So I want to make the next few months count personally, but also help other people to do it as well. So, chapter 21 is called Choose Your Focus, and there's actually a story that goes with this. So, when I lived in Brunei in Southeast Asia, we had the opportunity to go into the jungle and spend a night in the jungle, which I very much wanted to do. And I think the reason I very much wanted to do it was less to do with me, but more to do with my son. And he was, I think he was 9 or 10 at the time. And I really wanted him to experience what spending a night in a tropical jungle would be like. So there was a small group of us, and we went in and we trekked through the jungle. We set up a base camp and we camped in the jungle overnight. Great experience, very glad I've done it. However, one real sticking point for me was the fact that I am actually an arachnophobic. I dislike creepy crawlies of any kind really, but my main thing was spiders. How I managed to spend 8 years living in the tropics, I do now look back and wonder about, but I did. And one of the ways I managed to do it was because of something that was shared with me about that experience. So I had a friend, and her husband worked for the Jungle Warfare Wing in Brunei. And I went to him and I said, oh, Jim, what do I do? You know, we've got this opportunity. I really want to do it, but I'm an arachnophobic. As it turns out, unbelievably, so was he. And he gave me a piece of advice that I've never, ever, ever forgotten. And that was this. He said, don't look for them and you won't see them. And you know what? I didn't look for them when I was in the jungle, and I didn't see them. It didn't mean that they weren't there. It just meant that I didn't actively seek them out. And I knew that they were there because the night that we spent camping in our base camp, hi Maxine, lovely to see you. The night that we spent in that base camp, we had dinner sort of cooked on a campfire, and I sat with my back towards a tree, and our guide looked over my shoulder and said, Sue, look, tarantula, tarantula, and everybody else sort of crowded round and went, oh, look, isn't it beautiful? I sat there and I purposely did not look because I think I'd have lost it. And one of the things I really wanted to do was instill a sense of confidence in my son and a sense of enjoyment for Josh that he was doing this, and not see his mother freak out and lose it. So I knew they were there, but I was able to control and manage myself to the extent that it didn't become the focus of my trip into the jungle. And that became a real thing for me, and I wrote about it in the book. and this is chapter 21 that I'm sharing with you today, because I think for me that point was all about choosing our focus, choosing where we place our attention. And when I was thinking about which strategy to start with today, it suddenly made sense. Actually, perhaps this is a really good starting point for us all. It would be very easy to sit glued to the news or sit glued to social media and become very downhearted. So I had a little think when I was planning this for you. What am I currently choosing to pay attention to? Well, I'm choosing to pay attention to the generosity and creativity of people that I'm seeing online. I've enjoyed watching online choirs, online yoga, museum tours, online courses that you can do through the MOOCs, the massive open online courses. Library resources are free, cooking demonstrations. Nick and I have enjoyed particularly over the last couple of weeks online poetry and music gigs. Lots of artists, their works completely disappeared and they're doing free online gigs, and you can pop a couple of quid in their virtual hat. And that has provided me with a real source of enjoyment and comfort over what is quite a trying time. I'm also choosing to focus on friends and family and connecting with people online. So I've been in business now for just over 9 years, and I have built a bit of a business community around me, and I want to connect with you. I think part of my duty as people who, have listened to what I've said in the past, read what I've said, it's my duty to kind of help you through this as well and serve you in some way. So connecting with friends, my business community and family, doing lots of virtual coffees. I'm having virtual wine with a friend later in the week. But it's also helped me pay attention to what's really important in terms of consumption for me, and I've scribbled down here and underlined it quite a lot about simplifying my life. I've not spent anything, for nearly 2 weeks, which feels quite good, and it's really helping me to think about where I'm directing my resources of attention, but also finances, energy, emotions, and all the rest of it. Choose your focus, choose where you're going to pay attention. So we can choose where to focus our attention, and in doing so, we can consider what we can change about the situation that we're currently in. So I did this in the jungle. So rather than focusing on the fact that I was terrified of the creepy crawlies, didn't want to see any of the spiders, instead I chose to focus on what an experience it was and how brilliant it would be for Josh, my son. So I'm just reaching my tea here. It would be for my son to have that experience, and choosing that focus and that attention helped me to get through a situation where I did feel really very scared, if I'm honest. It wouldn't have been my first choice to do, but I did it. So in all of these sessions, what I'm going to do is share the idea with you, but also share something that you can go off and do. So I've made some notes here. One way to choose your focus and choose your attention, so this is kind of the 2020 update to the book, if you like, is by taking what I call imperfect action. So mine is this. So you're sitting on a pile of boxes and an egg box in my office, stuck in a little stand in the egg box to keep you stable. I've not got a swanky office bit of scenery behind me. It's the everyday scene of my office, but there you go. I'm just going to do it. So imperfect action is all about doing something before it's perfect, before perhaps you feel completely ready for it. It's about just doing something. And I think the next few months are a really good opportunity for us to begin to think about imperfect action, because, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are all going to have to go back to our careers, our businesses, our jobs, our lives. Those things will all be waiting for us the other side of this. And if you want any of those things to be healthy and buoyant afterwards, now is the perfect time to start thinking about it. For those of you who are just joining me, this is strategy 21 from the book. I am not making these sessions solely focused on what's going on at the moment. This isn't to mean that I'm dismissing or ignoring it, but I'm choosing a slightly different focus to help you all feel confident about the future and to be able to be realistically optimistic about life after this. So if you've got a career, let's just say you're a career person, what can you do to take imperfect action now and over the next few months to make sure that your career, when you go back to it, is the career that you really want? Think about, if you're job searching, now is the time to really pay attention to how you could position yourself for a new role, or how you could strengthen and position yourself for the role you're already in. So think about building virtual networks. What research could you carry out? What use of social media could you be employing? What kind of writing? Tracy, you fell off. I hope you're back on now. What kind of writing? Could you start a blog? What could you be doing now to begin to position and strengthen yourself for your career once we are the other side of this? If you've got a business, really important, how are you going to keep in touch with people in your business network and make sure you've actually got a business to go back to? So now is a real time to think about how you can be making your presence felt in your business community. There's lots of people doing lots of stuff out there and online at the moment that is really creative, and I think it's smashing. Could you do a bit of research and see what other people are doing? In your general life, it's a really good chance now, I think, to think about what would you like to be different? How happy are you with the way that things are currently going for you and the way that your life is? What needs to change? I think it's at times like this that things tend to get thrown into sharp relief for us. So think about the people you're surrounding yourselves with, for example. Are you doing what you want to do every day with your life, or have you fallen into a pattern, a rut, a routine that is very easily done, but is now the time when you could be thinking about what you could change? If you've got children, I think some of these ideas are really important for them to hear as well. Think about how you can help your children to pay attention to the right things in the right way. And there's a couple of quick things here from the strategy that I want to share with you, is that I think it's really important to understand that we can feel nervous about doing something and still succeed. And that's what my time in the jungle, I think, overarchingly left me with, is that we can be nervous. Nerves are normal, nothing to be frightened of. We can be nervous about taking a step forward, about being vulnerable, about doing something that scares us, but we can still succeed. And I think that's a really important thing for us to understand as adults. But I also think for your children, it's really important for them to understand this as well. Nerves are normal. Nerves accompany us when we're about to do something really exciting and we're about to do something that takes us out of our comfort zone. They have a place in our lives. That's what I'm saying to you here. And expect to see them. And I think if you can impart that message to your children as well, that will empower them to perhaps be a little bolder themselves, try new things, rise to challenges. Yeah, I think that is more or less it for today. So your task is to go off and take imperfect action. This is my imperfect action. My husband Nick over the weekend has been recording some of his poems. You probably don't know, but Nick's been a poet all his life, and this weekend he's been recording some of them with a view to sharing them at some point. He just did it. We had a bit of a chat on Sunday morning, so his imperfect action is to record and share his poetry. So what is your imperfect action going to be this time? over the next week or so, what one small step could you take that you could just start doing, even though it might make you think, oh, I'm not quite so sure about this, but just do it. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be one small step. Remember, as I said at the beginning, if you want a career, if you want a job, if you want a business to go back to when we are the other side of all this, this is the perfect time now to begin taking that imperfect action towards success and confidence in that area that you're focusing on. If you sit on your backside watching TV, drinking wine, eating chocolate, and I will be doing my fair share of that, make no mistake about it, but if that is all you do over the next few months, I think when life returns to whatever normality is going to look like for us, it's going to be quite challenging. So think about what imperfect action you could take and have a go. So if you've got any, what's the time? Oh, right, it's 20 minutes. I've been on for 20 minutes. I'll finish now. If you've got a comment or a message or a question you'd like answering, type it into the comments box. I'm not going to answer them live because I don't want to keep you all. I know that some of you, a lot of you, are probably already on your lunch hour, but I will go into Facebook and I will answer them on the stream. I'll be here again on Friday at 12:30 to answer any questions, to have a chat, to have a bit of a catch up with you and see how you've all got on. And then next Monday there will be another strategy from the book. Again at 12:30 I'll pick something else. I'm not going to go through it in order. I'll just do whatever takes my fancy. So this was my imperfect action. There you go. Ratner's Imperfect Action, record meditations and learn German. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Trudy, I'm glad you found it useful as well. Getting rid of clutter. Right, make a start this week and check in with us on Friday and see how you've got on. So I'm going to say goodbye now. I'm actually going to drink some of my tea. There we are. Oh, that's the first one. And for those of you who are interested, yes, I was very nervous. It's the first time I've done this properly to a live audience. But you know what? We've all got to start somewhere, and so have you. All right. So I will see you all on Friday lunchtime, 12:30 here, and I will also post the recording of this in the group on my Facebook page, so that you can watch it again if you would like to, if you've missed it. Okay. Have a very good Monday, everybody, and I will see you on Friday. Thanks, Ratner. Thanks, Diana and Jackie as well. It's really nice to see you. Trudy, if there's anything, I will pop the session in on the Facebook page. Okay, so you can watch it on catch up. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye.